All right, well, here we are. I'm Donald Hill at the River Ministries here at Canadian, but today I have actually traveled down to Sarah, Oklahoma, in the home of Eric Easter. And so today we just want to sit around here and just visit a little bit about what it means to live a resurrected life, or what's your story in living that resurrected life. And so I've known Eric for the past few years, and we've got very acquainted, and I love his story, but I love his heart, and we can... I think you'll see some of that as we go along here just a little bit. But Eric, I just want to ask you the question, what does it mean to you, or what is your story in living a resurrected life?
So I've kind of got two resurrected life stories, Donald. I grew up in a denominational church, and I was saved as a kid, and it was kind of a scare tactic, and I got saved so I wouldn't go to hell, and so I could go to heaven. And that was one resurrected life, and then got off track a little bit, and we'll talk some more about that. But the second time around, when I came back to the Lord, it was I would say that I've been living a kingdom resurrected life now, and that's the life that the Lord has for all of us. And so, as a kid growing up, I was in a denominational church, and like I said, I kind of got scared into making a decision. And I did a lot of things out of what I felt like I had to do to be a good Christian, reading my Bible and praying and going to church all the time, and just all the things that we do out of duty sometimes, and I kind of had a thought I was a little bit better than other people attitude, some of the kids at school that didn't go to church and that might not know as much Bible, scripture, and pray as much as me. I kind of looked down on them, and I was a little bit of a judgmental Christian. So 4 days before my 21st birthday, my mom got killed in a car accident, and I got mad at God and went off into the drug world for a while. And when I came back out of the drug world, I got around Andy Taylor and Cody Custer, Darryl Perry, Buddy Southers, Charlie Kingsbury. A lot of those guys, they really helped me early on in coming back. But that's where I kind of came under what I would call a kingdom resurrected life, and I'd go out there with my problems and tell them, this is what I'm going through, what do I need to do? And rather than telling me what I needed to do, they did probably the best thing they could have ever done for me. They pointed me to the Father and told me, He's always speaking to you, so what do you think the Father's telling you? I didn't know anything about that, and so they'd tell me, well, you go home and pray about it for a few days, and if you haven't heard anything from the Father, then come back and we'll talk about it some more. So I did, started hearing things from the Father, and the Father, that, following His Spirit, that's, to me, that's a kingdom resurrected life. And instead of doing things out of duty like I used to do them, now I do them because I want to. I want Him to live through me to affect other people and things. So, it's just been a whole different perspective, all the stuff that I went through, the drug world, that when you think you're up here and other people are down here, and then you go off into the drug world, it kind of takes you down here. So then you come back and you figure out that we're all right here. We're all equal in God's eyes, and He loves us all the same. So, just being able to let the Lord live through me and follow His Spirit has taken me to a lot of places and got me to a lot farther in life than I really ever could have been, if I wouldn't have been walking with the Lord and walking in His kingdom. Yeah.
Well, those guys gave you some tremendous wisdom, and some of those same guys give me some of that same wisdom, and teaching me how to. In fact, Andy's the one that led me to the Lord, and first things, he's teaching me that it stuck into my life is that, well, what's the Lord telling you? You live your life according to what He's telling you, not to what other man thinks or anything, but only what He tells you. And so knowing that we had freedom to hear the Father was a big deal. It was a very big deal for me, and I know it was you as well. And so because you did come out of the drug world, and things began to change, but your story is pretty unique because what the enemy meant for harm, the Lord has used for good. And so where was some of that with you now?
Well, so, I just feel like the Lord, He took care of me because of that decision that I made as a kid to believe in Jesus. the Lord, even when I was in the drug world, I believe that He was watching out over me. He was protecting me even through all that. That's how much our Father loves us.
Yeah.
But coming out of it, I kind of always thought that, well, I've done all this bad stuff for 13 years in the drug world, so I'm going to have to go through all this bad stuff. He's going to punish me. That's not our Father. Luke 15, the story of Luke 15, that Father in that story, that's the Father that I experienced when I came out of the drug world. He started blessing me right off. And so, there was a lot of people in town that thought he's never going to change, and rightly so. They hadn't seen anything other than the drug dealer and the drug addict, Eric Easter, for 13 years. So rightly so that they thought that way of me. But there was something that changed that time in me. The Lord did something supernatural. And so after a few years, some people started taking notice, and I was trying to help all the other addicts. I was going back and trying to get the ones that I'd left in the drug world that were my friends, and I was trying to get them coming to church and all those things. So going to recovery meetings, and there was people that took notice, and Judge Roper here in Beckham County, she was one of those people, and she asked me about coming on the drug court team here as a volunteer, just to give them a drug addict's perspective, and try to help her and the rest of the team figure out how to help these people and get them off of drugs and onto a sober life. So I volunteered for about 4.5 years for Judge Roper doing that, and then about 2.5 years ago, she hired me as the assistant drug court coordinator here for Beckham and Roger Mills County. So that's what following the Spirit. That's what, because there's nothing that it's nothing. I just walked out what I was hearing from the Spirit, and that's why I'm where I'm at. I take no credit for it. I just give all the credit to the Lord, following His Spirit. that with Him all things are possible, and that's a pretty big turnaround right there. And the Lord's the reason why.
Yeah, well, to go from a deal of being doping and selling dope, and then to go in and be more or less almost a type counselor.
Yeah.
Into for the court, for the county and stuff, and so that only God does stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's a big deal in itself, but that's still not the whole finish of the story there either, because you also now have another job at the church.
Yes. So they're the first ones. There was Mike Fields. He's the first one that gave me a job. There was nobody wanted to hire me here in town because of my past, and I don't blame any of them. I wouldn't have hired me either. All the stuff that everybody's seen from me for 13 years. But Mike Fields gave me an opportunity to go to work at a lube, changing oil in semis, and I did that for a couple years and was faithful to that job. And Andy and them out there at Trinity Fellowship, they're actually the first ones that gave me a shot to when I was on probation still, and I think 2 years. I'd been clean for 2 years and still on probation, and they asked me to come on staff at Trinity Fellowship, and man, that turned a lot of heads in town, because people were still a little iffy about, he's on probation. He gets off probation, he's going to be right back to doing what he was doing, but Lord did something supernatural, and it stuck, and so went to work out there, and I've been there now. I think that was in 2010, so I've been there 10 years now, and started out working in the benevolence stuff and the recovery stuff, and then still do some of that, and then about 4 years ago, I guess, started working with the youth, and it wasn't something that I set out to do, but it was something that I feel like the Lord, kind of gets you over where He needs you sometimes. So it's been great for me. It's helped me grow a lot as a person, as a Christian, as just a leader, because sometimes I don't look at myself the way other people do, and that's what the Lord, He's trying to get me over there where He needs me to, where I can lead others, in the things of the kingdom.
It's you're sitting here sharing some things, and I want to throw this in because I know that your home life changed a lot, and from where you were in the drugs and all that, you've raised some beautiful kids now, and just sent one off to college and just got in. I don't know what that does to Daddy's heart, but you and your wife, you're in a different place than you used to be, and it's there's more joy to go around now. But just the thankfulness that I know that you have of seeing where your kids are at today, to where if you'd have continued on the path you were on, to where they'd be today.
Yeah.
I mean, so, but you also said that you're very involved with the youth there at the church now. And that's something that is really spread out to more than just Sarah, Oklahoma.
Yes. Yeah, we're kind of a regional church. So we have kids from Elk City, Merritt, Eric, Sayre, Cheyenne, Canute. We've got kids from several schools and communities around here that come to the youth program. So I think we've got in the 30s in the high school. Me and Cody Custer, we work with the 9th through 12th grade, and then I just have a bunch of other great help. We have a kindergarten through 2nd grade class that my wife and my oldest daughter Jenny that they worked with, and then 3rd through 5th grade, the Norths from Eric, they work with them, and then Dustin Smith and John Pickens, they work with the 6th through 8th grade boys, and Kelsey Pickens works with the 6th through 8th grade girls. So have a great team of people, that have come in and helped. It takes a lot to pull that off, taking care of kids,
you bet,
feeding them on Wednesday nights, and that's what every one of us that have stepped up to do something for the kids. We've all grown through this. We may have learned more than the kids. We probably did learn more than the kids have, and we learn things every year, and we just get a little bit better at it every year, and some of that's through making mistakes. Sometimes mistakes are what we have to do to learn a lesson. So I've learned a lot of them that way, Donald.
Yeah, well, you're not alone in that.
So you brought up my wife a while ago. I want to brag on her a little bit. She's tougher than me. She went through a lot of stuff. I wasn't the nicest guy when I was on drugs, and ashamed of that now, but she went through some, me put my hands on her and things like that. And, we had some tough times, but it's great now. We've got a great relationship, and the deal with our kids that you were talking about, if the Lord wouldn't have stepped in and intervened, I work with people in the drug court program all the time, and I just see how it goes down through generations from the parents to the kids and all of that. So I'm just very, very thankful that I broke that cycle, because now that I'm on this side of things, and I sure would have hated for my kids to go down that same road. Yeah.
Well, I think that's important that we bring that out a little bit, because that is something that a lot of people deal with. If it's not necessarily drugs, but it can be a prescription drugs, it can be, but the different addictions that people can come up with. And so I think it's important that dads especially step in and be the men that God created them to be. And so, and as long as you're hung up in those addictions, you never will be.
Yeah.
You may feel like you are, but you're never going to be the man that God called you or created you to be, to give your kids the opportunity to live a resurrected life. Because you want the best for your kids, and that's what, we all do. And so I think that's one thing that I hope people can get a hold of, is that, I can make a difference, and it starts right here in my own life.
Yeah.
Let me change my life first, and then the rest of it begins just to fit into place, because there's no work in it after that.
Yeah.
I've heard people call it a no sweat ministry, but and it means that, if I just surrender myself, He does the rest.
He does. Yeah. Got this going on. He takes care of all this out here.
Yeah.
Andy and them, they taught me that a long time ago, and said get that relationship going on with the Father. If you put that first and work on that, He'll help you work out all the other stuff. And it's all in His timing too. Some things we want it to happen right now, and it's just not meant to right now. It's later down the road.
Yeah.
So.
Means you got to teach you something else first.
Yes. Yes.
Sure does. So, well, where do you see yourself going?
Wherever He leads me. Just follow His Spirit. I didn't think I would be where I'm at today, but I just keep following His Spirit and try not to get too far ahead of Him.
Yeah. Well, I know you've had the opportunity to come to Canadian. I know a few other places around that you've been able to go and to share, actually to go brag on your Father, your Heavenly Father. Yeah. And, and that's one of the greatest blessings that you can ever do, is to be able to just to go share about an intimate personal relationship that we have with our Heavenly Father. And I've heard your testimony numerous times, but it encourages me, because you've walked a path that a lot of people have walked, but they haven't had the same results. There's some of them that they may get over the drugs, but they don't go ahead and engage in a relationship with the Father. the way that they need. I've seen a lot of people over the years that would come out of something, but only to find out that they've got a place of void somewhere else. And so they fill themselves with something else. And it could be another addiction. It could just be a spirit of loneliness or whatever. And God didn't create us to live in that. He created, he says that the joy of the Lord is our strength. And so if I want that joy in my life, or that strength, if I want to overcome these obstacles that I face or that people face, what's the greatest thing that you think that we can do?
Man, putting the Lord first and just walking with Him, walking in His kingdom and following His Spirit. I mean, that's been the answer for everything with me. That's the biggest key to me, is that.
I think if that one's out of order, the rest of it's out of order too.
It is, yeah. He's the best one to get our information and our guidance from.
Yeah. Well, I like that because the very thing is, and we've mentioned it, we've got some tremendous men and women around us here helping support us. You and I both, we're very blessed men. But I know a lot of people that whenever they go to coming out of something, they run to somebody that they know's had the same problem before. And how did you do it? Well, you know what? God didn't create you to live their life. So that's not where you're going to get it. You know what? I sit and I think, if Jesus is right here with me, and he promised to never leave you or forsake you, correct?
Correct.
So you know what? I don't need to go somewhere else. I have the source with me. I need to be asking the source.
Yep.
He is the source. He's the answer he's the solution to every problem that we may face. And if we will truly go ask Him and just intentionally, and it may take you a few days, whatever, but you intentionally go and ask Him where you need to be, what you need to do. He promised to give you a spirit that would lead and guide you.
Yep, He's going to do that, and that's what worked for me, and I don't see any way that it doesn't work for anybody. So that's the advice that I give people. I just give, hey, get hooked up with the Lord. What's the Lord telling you? So it's a great advice. It's never the wrong advice to give people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think it's the best advice to give anybody. I really do, because if you miss that part, you're never going to, it ain't going to fit.
Yeah.
You're always going to be looking for something else. And so I'm very thankful to be able to come down here today and to sit and to visit with you about some of this stuff. And I know that there's a whole lot that we could sit and bring out here today. But who is the Resurrected Life for?
For the triune God, Jesus and the Father,
Okay.
and the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. And you know what? He's the one that He says, "Come unto me, all you who are weary and heavy laden." We all have troubles. We all have trials and tribulations in this world. And you know what? What does He do? He says, "Come to me. I'm the source." And when we do that, He's going to be there, and He's going to give us the answers we need.
I want to share one more thing with you, because He just showed me, that if I will try to look at things, because I don't always do this, but every once in a while He'll just really shake me, and I want you to see things from my perspective, and so for a lot of years, I finally got to peace about my mom dying in a car wreck. I finally came to peace with that, and got peace from the Lord and all of that. But I just, I was always wondering why. So 23 and a half years after her death, He showed me, when I got off track after she had passed away and went off into the drug world. I got some tools from there coming back. He knew that my heart was with Him and that I was going to come back to Him. He knows the beginning from the end. So He knew all that. And when I went into the drug world, and came out on the other side and came back to walking with Him, I had some tools to help some other people. Mm-hmm. So from His perspective, I went through all that stuff. And by my own choice, I went through all that stuff. But because of my mom's death, that's why I went through all that. So from His perspective and His purpose, the people that I've been able to help point to the Father and help to beat drugs and all of that on this side of it, it all works together for the good, for His purpose. Yeah. So sometimes we just got to stop and try to see things from His perspective, because this life, it isn't about us. It's about Him and letting Him live through us.
Yeah, that's very good words, very good words. And I can bear witness with what you're giving testimony to there, because I too, when I lost my dad, that was the hardest thing got so mad at God, and I took a bad road. I took a very bad road for a lot of years, and led a lot of people down a bad path.
Me too.
And so, and it come to the point where, honestly, one day I was out actually at the cemetery, and I was crying, and I was drunk, and I was messed up, and I'm sitting out there, and I'm cussing God. I'm mad at him, and I'm going, how can you take my dad from me, my best friend? If you're such a good God, how can you take him from me like that? And that's the first time in my life I ever heard the Lord, and this before I was even saved. And I heard the Lord tell me that night, he said, Donald, I did not take your dad from you, but I did receive him unto myself. That got a hold of me. And I began to think, and then it wasn't shortly after that is whenever I was introduced to the Lord. And so things began to happen. And you know what? So there's somebody out there today, they're walking through some hard trials or tribulations, that whatever it may be, and maybe it may not be the death of a loved one, but it can be anything. It could be just the bondages of this virus stuff that's going on and not being able to work like they normally do. But again, Jesus is still the solution.
He is. Always.
Yeah. So, well, you got any closing words for anybody, or?
I'm good.
You're good?
I'm good, yeah.
Well, I think you shared a lot there with us, and I know that, again, Eric, I appreciate you letting me come down here and just invade your home and your privacy here, but I just want everybody out there to know that, you know what, it's the Word teaches us that it says we live, we move, and we have our being in Him. And so whatever you get ready to go do, tonight, tomorrow, the next day, whatever, just remember, Jesus promised that He'd be with you. He's giving you His Spirit. Take time, listen to Him, and just see what happens, because I can guarantee it gets better from here. God bless each and every one.